Hey, Roger.
All right, we got the recording on too.
All right.
We're in great shape. Afternoon, Charles. You're muted, by the way. Intentionally, I suspect.
Yeah, so many screens to keep track of, and
Uh-huh.
yes, you're already recording. You're definitely off on the right foot.
We had about 50 people that responded to this session.
Wow.
So we're looking a little slim so far.
Well, by responded, you mean it in the affirmative, right? Not.
Yeah. But on a nice summer day, though, you never know. 72
Yeah.
degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it was 100 degrees like a Friday's supposed to be, you might have more people escaping
Oh,
the heat for the office.
well, who doesn't want to come and see our good looking mugs here, right?
Yeah, I thought we were done with the near 100 temperatures, but unfortunately not.
Mr. Schleid's here. Hey, Blake.
Hey there, Roger.
Got
Hello.
any return mail?
Not so much recently, but yeah, we got a little bit a month ago.
That's a record-setting thing there.
I know.
Hey, your audio is working well too. I think I'm going to have to press this admit button here about 700 times by the looks of it.
If I see anybody pop up, I'll hit it for you.
What it's worth, I'm kind of surprised that I'm seeing those admit buttons. I don't know if that's a permissioned thing or what.
It's kind of common.
Kind of thought that would be something limited to the host, but
Yeah.
Yeah, about half your RSVPs. Give it a couple more minutes, Roger.
Yeah. Up to 22 now. Well, Mark, can you still see the screen okay? All right. I guess we can get started.
All right.
Want to welcome everyone to the August 2025 Oregon Energy Code Stakeholder Panel meeting. Thank you for all your contributions to date, and welcome to those who are attending for the first time. Just so you know, this just happens to be the greatest stakeholder panel meeting on Oregon energy codes in the world. Mark and I had that discussion earlier, and I thought I'd just mention it. It is the greatest. Please save your questions for the Q&A periods, or if you have something that needs immediate attention, use the chat feature and publicly send that chat message to everyone. We're recording this session to later post on the ODA website for your review. We want to encourage input from all audience members during the meeting and want to hear all points of view. Today, we will be covering a summary of directives, the 2026 ORSC adoption timeline, a working group summary, 2026 ORSC Chapter 11 draft, and proposal requirements. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mark Heiser from Building Codes Division and Kelly Thomas from Building Codes Division as well. I'm not sure which one of you are going to take it from here, but lead off, gentlemen.
If you want to move the slide forward, we'll.
I can do that.
Yeah. So as Roger summarized, what we want to do, we're not sure how many people are kind of new to this meeting, but we wanted to give you kind of an overview of why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing. First of all, it's the Executive Order 2004 from year 2020, and then HB 3409 from 2023, which codified elements of the executive order relative to energy efficiency and in homes and buildings. And so it set a target for our 2029 ORC to be 60% reduction of regulated site energy load over 2005. And that was a weighted average. It asked us to agree to metrics with ODO, and it was a weighted average of prototype homes. So we went through that, and using all those metrics that we agreed to, the 2023 ORSC measured about approximately a 51% reduction. And then those numbers actually will come from U of O. We hire U of O to give us the final results. And that's why you'll see there 2026 Chapter 11 base code draft is a range. Those are the results we have on our draft right now is 57 to 59. So you can say we're just a few points away from actually hitting the 2029 target. So those are links in. I'm going to go ahead and just drop that executive order link. We've got a page where you can read our reports, read all about it. And I'm going to paste that here into the chat in case you're interested. There we go. Because I don't think it links from the screen. So I move us on. All right. And so the 2026 draft timeline, or the committee members were just recently approved on August 5th. Previous to that, there's some things that occurred. We'll go over that in a minute. But today's meeting really purpose of it was to kind of answer questions in this proposal period that we're in the middle of now. I mean, do we have questions about what you might be proposing, how to propose it, when to propose it, who to propose it to, all of those kind of things. That's kind of the main thrust of today's meeting. And then the RMSB committee meetings, since the members were selected, we have sent out a inquiry to those members. I think there's 9 people that were selected for that, and it was split in two. There were 2 committees. There's the energy committee, and then there's the rest of the ORSC. And so energy is going to focus specifically on 11. And yeah, it was 9 people were selected for that. An email went out asking to get their availability in mid to late August. I think it's excuse me, not August, October. All right. So, and I think it's October 20th. So those aren't set yet, but just if you want to note that, generally speaking, that's about when they're going to occur. And then, they'll make their recommendations to RMSB, which, is scheduled for January, but that almost always moves to February. So, but you can expect that, the everything's going to move forward at the beginning of the year towards rulemaking. So, Roger, you want to give us next? And then there's a timeline on the page. Let me real quickly before we talk about that working group. Let me post. Oops, for everybody. This is our.
I just did the adoption page.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right, and so this year, so on the adoption page, you'll see the timeline of events, code proposal, documents, things like that. So I want to back up for those who did not, who weren't aware. This code cycle, we formed an energy, Chapter 11 working group, and so we started this at the March meeting of this meeting. We kind of sent the word out like, hey, do you want to be involved? We took the list of this meeting and doubled it, and we got 100 invitations sent out to a very diverse array of potential stakeholders, and 18 of them volunteered, and you can see the industries that they represent. And we had 2 meetings. We had basically a big picture meeting, kind of the history of where we've been. The principles that we always use for code adoption. The process was like at that time was, hey, here we are and where are we going, and kind of what were the big ideas. And then, we had a draft out there, and May 15th, we discussed that draft. All right. And then, Roger, you can go ahead and go next. And then these were some of the key concepts that we talked about during that was, right now it's select 1. The next code cycle is select 2. Right now, Bury Ducks is select 2, but then you will go to 3 and you will do testing. So and you're burying the ducks, it's 3 measures, and you will do testing for not just the duck system, but the home as well. And then one of the other ideas that we've had, which was the RMSB has asked us to look at affordability years ago, and we went and got this data, created a report for them, and found that about 15% of the market fell at this 1,350 square foot or less area. Now, the proposal that we sent out back in May was about just, small homes can use last year's code. That wasn't very well received, and so what we've done is in this draft now we updated that. So the little asterisk means we got some feedback, we made a change, and so now they're doing 1 measure. So they'll follow 2026, but they'll do 1 measure or 2 measures instead of 2 measures or 3 measures. And then we also talked about the split system cooling. So the first stage of a unit will be an electric heat pump, and then when it gets down to a certain temperature, it'll switch over to gas or electric, whatever their other fuel is. And we listened there. There's some funky language, and so we'll just call it a heat pump. I think we call it reversing valve or something like that. So now we've called it heat pump and just made it clear what we mean. I talked yesterday with Nia, and there's a couple other some clarities that we're just going to do administratively, like how the additional measures read and stuff like that. Renewable energy getting added to the additional measures table. We put that in there. I think that kind of stayed as is. I know there's some suggestions to increase it, but that the amount of solar energy that we put in there was equitable between the other measures in there, which is why we landed at the number we did. The ERI values, we lowered those to match 2024 IECC, but not just that. We've also collected all the data going back to when ResNet collected data for our state. I think it was back to 2019, 18 or 19. And so we're making sure that the ERI values, represent the reality in the marketplace too. So we feel we're on track with those. And then we created a new performance path. That wasn't available in May, but we've created that. It is in the Chapter 11 now. And so that this performance path or a similar performance path was taken out the last cycle. And so this cycle, we matched 2024 IECC, but organized it to work in Oregon. So Roger, we're on to the next one. Okay, the proposal requirements. Yeah, you'll see there in the, on that page is a submit a code amendment proposal link. And then if you follow that link, it'll take you to the actual code amendment proposal. The four main requirements of it are, when you make a proposal, make sure the language is in the proper format. Just the version of track changes is fine. Make sure the proposal is, for technical, scientific matters, not administrative changes. That's why I just mentioned the heat pump thing. That was a concern that you don't have to do a proposal. If there's something administrative, we might be able to fix it before we get to the code committees and make it smooth. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Proposal criteria, make sure there's the criteria on the proposal. You'll see that there's some criteria and there's questions. Make sure you answer those. What problem is being solved? Is your proposal enforceable? What's the fiscal impact? Who are the impacted stakeholders? And then, finally, to this group, you might have energy efficiency proposals, and that's gonna require some modeling and some further address some of the increased construction costs. And I think that's it before we get to the questions. So yeah, we're really to the question page. I imagine there's some questions about the modeling because it's not super clear like how many you have to do, but yeah, we'll just kind of open it up now to see what questions everybody has on, try to get them answered. Or if there's anything you want to add, anyone who wants to add before we open up to questions, please feel free.
No additional comments at this time, just looking to see. Yeah, we have a question from Mike Moore. We'll take that one.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about the process and the summary that you guys provided. That's great. Yeah, just had some questions on the modeling, and it seems like there are two types of buildings that need to be modeled: 1,200 square foot and also 2,376, I think, square foot. And then there are a lot of configurations that are based on like fuel type and heating and cooling system, as well as the foundation type. And I'm wondering just like how many, it seems like there are 64 models that are needed for any one given proposal. So I'm just wondering if you could provide some clarification on what exactly we need to do there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question, Mike. I mean, yeah, there's be 64. You compare code to code. Yeah, there would be like 64 for 23 and then 16 less for 2026. And then you'd compare those. That's what we're doing internally. But, it kind of depends a little bit on the scale of your proposal. But let me back up first and we'll talk about how many to model to clarify because it does, the proposal does ask for you to do the estimated savings based on the DOE's energy modeling, which is that 2,376 square foot home. But then it goes on to say, for a 1,200 square foot home. So the 2,300 square foot home is for compliance with the executive order. For a code proposal, we're looking for your 1,200 square foot model. And it lists square foot in there, which, the square foot of the lot, which doesn't matter. That's just that's the statutory requirement. We have to show that per law that 1,200 square foot home. So that's the first answer. Use the 1,200, and we put up a. We've never done this before, but we went ahead and put up. There's the inputs and assumptions by year, the modeling inputs. There's two links, and then there's modeling inputs and assumptions for 1,200 square feet. So, the energy components don't change, but what we did is went ahead and laid out a comparison tab. We did all the math for you on what those would look like. So I just posted that in there of kind of what the shape is, how big the walls are, things of that nature, the water heater, things of that nature, how the internal loads would change, appliances change, stuff like that. So use the 1,200 square foot version for your code changes. Now, as far as how many, Mike, I think you're just doing a pretty slight change, like 66% in amendment measure 7, a change to like 67% efficiency, and then 1.7 or 1.6, something like that. For something like that, we'll take 4 models, right? We'll take an electric home and a gas home in 4C, an electric home and a gas home in 5B, and call it a day, because that's going to capture 80% of the market. Doing 16 models for for a code change for something like that wouldn't be necessary. And we can also just do the ducks inside. If you're doing a proposal, don't worry about the other selections that we have put out there where don't run buried ducks models. You don't have to do that. Just run the ducks inside ones. So very long answer to your 2 questions. Does it make sense?
Yes, that's really helpful. And is there a certain staff person that I should, run the models by before you pulling the trigger on them, just to make sure that that they align with what the expectations are? I am looking to do that proposal like you talked about. I'm also looking, considering one that would require H or ERVs as compared to a balanced ventilation system without heater energy recovery. And so, like for that one, would the same type of setup be okay, electric or gas, 4C and 5B? Or I should say electric only and gas only, 4C and 5B. Okay.
Yeah, that should be okay. And you can always call me I do the modeling, and so you're always welcome to call me. And so we want to make sure we get what we expect.
Great, thank you.
Now, if you're coming up with, if somebody out there is coming up with a wholesale, like go to the point system that Washington has things, then yeah, we're going to expect at least all 16 of the ducks inside one. We're not going to expect you to run the buried ducks ones, but we'd want to see a much more detailed comparison.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'd add that there are some of our home, let's say it has something to do only with, say, an electrical home, like the ductless mini split with supplemental electric heat home. If it's relative to just that type home, so if you're talking about just ductless systems,
Right.
there would be no need to run a gas furnace home with that.
Right.
So
right.
it's really what might be in by prototypes of what's in there. So we would look to have, not require you to run models that you don't need to, but making sure the models do apply to what you're asking to change. That would be the best way to put it. Thanks.
Then another important thing to utilize when you're doing the savings, because you don't want to do the savings that of your code change. And we've posted the residential cost for both electricity and gas, and that's the statewide average. So we know it's different in Portland and different in Burns, but we utilize a statewide average for that. And then as far as it goes with the construction costs, what we're looking for is the incremental costs. I believe it says that in the code amendment proposal, but it's the incremental cost above what it would be if your proposal did not occur. including labor, materials, overhead costs, profit. So really, essentially, the price to the consumer. We don't care that much about how much it costs a builder to do that, because the builder is going to it's all about affordability, right? We have to always keep affordability in mind. And so what we care about is how much is that going to raise the cost of the home to the consumer? Mike's got another one.
Yes, thank you. On the affordability question, once we get our construction costs, incremental construction costs, and then also the cost, the energy savings, are you guys looking for a certain cost effectiveness metric like simple payback, life cycle cost, something like this? Or is there a certain thing you're looking for, or just for those two metrics and then you plug them through a formula? And also, is there a minimum threshold that you're looking at to be cost effective, to evaluate the cost effectiveness based on the metric?
Yeah, I think great question. We'll have to simple payback would be fine. And then really, we don't have a metric as far as, if your simple payback is 50 years, we don't make that call. That's ultimately going to be the RMSB's call, right? But we should have that data available. So we're going to process your application as long as it meets all the requirements. We do not have a metric for its payback. If you wanted to do a life cycle analysis or a scalar one like ASHRAE does, you're more than welcome to. But a simple payback is fine for these.
Thank you.
Inevitably, the division doesn't set a standard. It's the board and their members who look at this overall, who they will be the ones considering and making the decision. And then they make a statement about the relative increase of cost of a 1,200 square foot home as part of their statutory requirements. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that having enough data for them to look at and consider, and their consideration of cost as necessary is really their directive. So just wanted to put that out there as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Serena.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. I apologize for, this might be a very basic question, but I see the section that says in new dwellings where split system air conditioning is installed, it basically shall have heat pump operation for heating and cooling. Is there anything in the current draft that would require traditional AC units upon replacement to be replaced with a heat pump? Or is that solely for new construction?
Just new.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Good questions.
And Mike, in your email, I also saw one. You said, "Hey, can I do slab on grade or crawl space?" You could do either one. We know that slab on grade performs slightly worse, but they're very similar. So I would do the slab on grade homes if I was picking them, just to be more conservative.
Thank you.
Oh, and I know, you know what? I forgot to mention it. It was a question yesterday, and Kevin, you said somebody was asked this, and no one did. But people would probably be curious about how far this code cycle is going, how far, what's modeled out, between 23 and 26. And it's from a 25 to 28% improvement from cycle to cycle right now. And that's for that's relative to a large home. So a big jump.
Kelly, you want to move on to the next slide?
Well, the next slide is a question slide. And we've done that. Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm missing in mine, but
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, yeah, we kind of talked about that. Yeah, so the
Yeah, you
1,200
did.
square foot home, the right. So that's been covered, but that'll give us another opportunity for anybody at any questions buzzing in someone's head they want to throw out there in case this slide generates any more. Brian?
Right.
Hi, this may be a simple question. Is this just about single family homes or is this affecting multifamily housing as well?
Well, single family, duplex, and townhomes. So anything covered by the ORSC. For the most part, your apartments and things like that are covered under the OSSC.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, Mike.
Thanks, Kelly. Another question for you. Appreciate your patience. So I'm looking at the modeling inputs and assumptions by year for the 2026 ORSC, and I see that, for example, the heating system for gas, it's a 95 AFUE furnace. And then I see that for cooling for gas, it's a 14 SEER with a dual fuel heat pump. So for the model that I use, it's a gas model. Am I understanding correctly that you guys wanted, for the reference home, dual fuel heat pump that operates it as a heat pump first and then switches over 35 degrees Celsius
Mhm.
to the 95 AFUE furnace? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, yeah, so, okay, 8.2 HSPF, and then in cooling mode, the air source heat pump operates as a 14 SEER, and that's how I should interpret that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So
Okay,
federal minimum on the flip side. Right.
got it. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Charles. Oh, we got somebody else too. Oh, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, I see where this slide is mentioning that it includes alterations, repairs, change of use, or change of occupancy, which brings to mind the question from someone a few minutes ago about potentially needing to change from an air conditioner to a heat pump uh, when you're doing a repair. Can you give further guidance or context?
What section? Where? Sorry.
So the current slide, I see where it says it includes alterations, repairs,
Oh.
change of use, or change of occupancy. So I'm just
Oh, I
asking for
see.
clarification on how that applies to like having to change from an AC to a heat pump in a repair scenario or replacement upgrade.
Yeah, if your proposal is going to affect alterations, repairs, or change of use, then that would be part of your increased construction cost, and maybe separately from the new home.
But I guess the follow-on question is, to what extent does Chapter 11, to what extent does the RSC affect just new construction, or to what extent does it affect repairs and other than new construction?
Yeah, I mean the bulk of it is for new construction. I mean there are there are provisions. There's a few chapters, or excuse me, a few sections up front that address existing homes and how it's applicable to existing homes, and additions, large additions, small additions, mini additions, or however you want to phrase those. So all that's addressed. I mean, it would be I would look at the alterations and repairs and additions sections, see if those are going to apply to your proposal, and then come up with a construction cost. If it's not affecting alterations, repairs, additions, then it wouldn't be applicable.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions before we close for the day?
I'll ask one other question, which is, do you have some sample code proposal documents that people could refer to as being model templates or how to do it? I've seen your form, which
Mhm.
describes everything, but seeing one that's all filled out would sure be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, we've got those are public record from the last time. Let me see if we've still got that page available. And I don't know if we have it, but if we do, and if not, I can send you a couple that we liked.
Yeah, I think if you could share some that are best in class, great examples, that would be wonderful.
Okay, yeah, I'll get you a couple from the 2021 process or 23 process, one or either one. Okay. Yeah, hey Jim.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Can you demonstrate where you derive the values for the renewable credit in the kilowatt versus the kilowatt hours? Or is it?
Yeah, the four in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, is that how, you know, you might, or maybe Mark knows, or you know, we've done several of these calculations. You know, is there somewhere this? Is there a precedent for this, or?
We have stuck with PV watts, looking at the general locations that we look at for cities in Oregon and seeing about where they're landing. Normally, I'm trying to remember what angle we had. The used for our default values, but it has been coming out of PV watts to sort of get the annual generation, and then cross-referencing that to sort of the approximate reduction in energy use we'd want to see from a proposal. And so, again, your mileage may vary, whether it's angled, east, west, north, south, efficiency of your panels, efficiency of your converters, et cetera. So.
Yeah. So, but what size home were you doing PV watt? I mean, that because that since there's a fixed number there for not.
Yeah, that was on the 23. It was on the 2376 home.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're doing 1200 for the modeling sake, it would be a little different. So I would say if you're going to run a proposal in the relative to that, yeah, why don't you reach out to us? We can talk about what might be most appropriate.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Roger. I just had a question, Kelly and Mark, on the incremental cost part, you know, from that discussion. And I know from previous years, like this, it can be a sticking point with the RMSB, making sure that you've got good enough cost information reported. And just trying to, for clarity for everybody, when it says incremental costs, does that mean that you need to show the cost of what's proposed and then the cost of what the baseline technology would have been that it's replacing in order to get the, I guess, is it better for folks to show the math is what I'm asking, because if you just said something costs $100 more, but you didn't say the original one cost 800 and the new one cost 900, it makes, there's more questions associated with that when it comes time to like have this be discussed by the RMSB.
Correct.
Yeah, just as a professor would tell you, you know, show your math. Yeah, well, yeah, we'd love to, you know, see both and then see where the incremental, as you know, is what's, you know, yeah, that's what you divide into the savings. But yeah, we'd love to see like, yeah, it was 900 baseline and 1,000 with my proposal, and the difference is 200.
But yes, as David was saying, if you took out PSEX and put in piece Y that costs more. You show what it was, what the reduction was
Right.
for what you replaced. Yes, that's the math that needs, the RMSB wants to see that because, yeah, or at least from past experiences, you know, they want.
Versus if there would be other ones that might be simpler where it's like you're not taking anything out and you're just adding something new, and therefore like 5 more hours of air sealing per house or something, right? And you just have that additional cost. Thanks. I just wanted to make that clear for folks that hadn't filled one of these out before, to make sure that they were providing adequate cost information, because it is one of the things that gets close scrutiny. Thanks.
Appreciate it, David.
Kevin.
Yep. One thing I'm just thinking of now, regarding the small home, the 1,200 square foot prototype that the modeling, if you're putting in a substantive energy change, needs to be based on, as opposed to the 2376 home, which is a nice to have if I've heard correctly.
Mhm.
For that small home, you the inputs and assumptions document is posted, as you mentioned, which is very appreciated. One entry that would be different would be, since that 1,200 square foot would be a small home per the newly proposed definition, it would have to do one fewer additional measure, depending on, regardless of
Mhm.
what choice is made for ducts. So in terms of standardizing that assumption, do you want folks assuming additional measure 1 and ducts inside so that there's only one additional measure needed? Should
Yes.
folks sort of,
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Always do ducts inside. So.
Okay. And then additional measure 1. So depending on whether you're doing gas or electric or both, you use additional measure 1 as sort of the default basis of comparison.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Charles. You're muted, Charles.
Thanks for that. I wanted to ask a clarifying question on the measure 8, where currently it says installing a minimum of 4 kilowatt hours or 1.5 watts per square foot. Those are, of course, two different measures. Is the intent to say 4 kilowatt hours per day?
That would be a typo. It's supposed to be a 4 kW system. Yeah. Look, thank you for
Okay,
catching
so
that.
no
Yeah.
H.
Yeah. 4K.
All right, thank you. That makes more sense.
Any other questions? Well, Mark and Kelly, unless you have something more to add, we can round this out by just letting everybody know that the recording of this meeting will be online soon, like within a week. Action items identified and distributed to all those people that had them. Next meeting date, PBD is November 2025. Not real sure about that date, but seems to be falling pretty close to being quarterly. Any questions, send them over to me and I'll shepherd them over to Mark or Kelly. And meeting materials will be online as well. Brian, you have another question?
Yeah, can you put that meeting materials link in the chat?
Sure, we can
I
find
just
that
want to
and
make,
put it in. Yeah.
like, will the slide deck be included on that
It-
meeting materials page?
Yeah, it'll all be on our website at
I'll get that.
the link on the screen.
I know, there's a lot of pages on the website.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's,
I put it in there for you, Brian. It's in the chat
Thank
now.
you.
yeah, I can get overwhelmed by all those pages too, not just ours, but everyone's. All right, everybody. If that's it, that's it. And enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. It's sun is shining, lots of smiles. Take care, everybody.
Thank you much.